Hey everybody, welcome back to my Wings of Refuge. So this week I've been thinking a lot about my mother-in-law, and she's had a rough time lately, and I wanted to do a little something for her. So I saw these fabrics and they really made me happy. So I wanted to take these and make her a rag quilt. So that's what we're going to start with today. I'm going to take all of these fabrics here and I'm going to cut them into 7-inch squares. And then we'll take the batting and cut them into 6-inch squares. And I'll explain more as we go. But first, let's get started cutting. I have here my mat with my measuring tools and my handy dandy roller blade. So I'm going to get started and get all of these fabrics cut into 7-inch squares. It should take me about 2 hours. Now we're going to get started cutting this 7 inches squared. Our first stack is ready. Now, to do all the rest. Okay, so we got all of our fabrics cut into 7-inch squares. The next thing we want to do, while we're still got our cutter out, is to cut up our quilt batting. This will be what goes in the middle that makes it nice and warm and kind of squishy. But we only want to cut it in 6-inch squares because when we put our fabrics together, what I call little sandwiches, it'll go in between them. And when we cut the little edges to make them nice and cute and fuzzy, we don't want the quilt batting to stick through because it won't be pretty and cute and fuzzy. So we'll cut it 6 inches square. And then when we're sewing our sandwiches together, we will leave a 1/2 inch seam all the way around so that none of this sticks out. Okay, so off we cut our little squares of quilt batting, 6-inch squares. So now I'm just going to finish these up, get all of these cut into 6 inches square, and then we'll do our layout. Okay, so we're all done, and this is what a twin size quilt batting, warm and natural, looks like cut into 6-inch squares. So now we're ready to do our layout. Okay, so to do the layout, I need a large space, and this works really well for me. I use the top of my bed, I remove all the pillows, and then everything will stay clean, and hopefully Jacobus will not jump in the middle of it. So let's get started. So here we have our top layer finished. I've got 12 rows across, and I'm going to do 15 rows down. So now I'm going to put the quilt batting on, and then we'll start the next layer. Okay, now that we've got the quilt batting in place, we're ready to do the top layer. Okay, so we have all these sandwiches made, which means we have the bottom layer of our quilt with the padding or the quilt batting in the middle, and our top layer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take each one of these sets to the sewing machine, which I've set up here in the bedroom for less travel, and we're going to sew an X on each one of these to secure our sandwiches, and then we'll sew all the sandwiches together. So let's get started. Okay, so we have our first sandwich made here. You can see probably our X. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but we sewed the big X here. And so first sandwich is made. Now these can't come apart, and we're going to sew all of these sandwiches, and then I'll get right back to you. So I'm back again today. I've had some meetings this morning, and I had a little time before dinner to do a little sewing, and I often have helpers. So what I like to do is at the beginning of each row, I write a number and pin it. And then I just stack them all on top of each other so that I can keep all my rows together, and I can literally work on one row at a time without covering my entire bed, because Jacobus is a big helper here. And, well, you can't see her, but Trudy is under my feet. So today I'm going to work on this row, and if I get a chance, I'll work on the next row, and I'll set these safely right here. So let's get to work and hopefully get some of these sandwiches finished sewing today. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the first one, and I'm going to sew it to the second one, and that one to this one, and so forth. And so what I want to do is always keep the wrong sides or the backs all together, so that the tops will all have a sewn edge on the fronts. And so I will sew these together and give you a look at it. But just so you know, when you're sewing these together, this can be the front or it can be the back. It really doesn't matter. But you're going to sew the wrong sides or the backs together like this. And I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. Okay, let's get started. We'll have this here in the middle that we're going to clip later, and once we wash it, it'll be fuzzy and beautiful. So now to sew all the rest together in a row. So here you can see how our seams are standing up. You get a good look at the X here in the middle. So now we're going to sew all of these rows together. This is only row 1. So now I'm actually going to sew rows 3 and 4 together. I'm not going to hook them to this just yet. because I don't want all the weight on one side. You'll see what I mean in just a few minutes. So we're really close to being done now. In fact, the last thing we have to do is take all of these seams here and we're going to clip them maybe halfway or 3/4 of the way. You don't want to clip them all the way to the seam, because if you cut the seam, your quilt will come apart. So, but we're just going to lightly clip, 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 clip with our scissors all the way through, all the way in every direction throughout the entire quilt. Then we'll give her a good washing and we will be done.